Thank you guys so much for coming. I'll go ahead and share my slides real quick. We can begin. Okay. Thank you. Shout out to Tara for the awesome music. Okay, good evening, PNW Key Clubbers and advisors. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope everyone is having a great start to their school year so far. Welcome to our September 2020 Membership Growth and Retention webinar, hosted by the Pacific Northwest Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee. Throughout this webinar, we'll be walking through a newly released virtual engagement toolkit and showing you all how to utilize these resources as effectively as possible, showcasing the new MGRC and Thirst Project video, hosting an MGRC panel with PNW Key Club officers, and holding a Q&A session at the end for individual clubs to ask questions about membership and retention. About us. My name is Julia Lynn, and this year I'm serving as the chair of the Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee, or MGRC for short. I'm also serving as Lieutenant Governor of Division 65. The MGRC committee members include our executive liaisons, District Treasurer Tara Mayapin from Division 28, and District Editor Jessica Lober from Division 54. Kelsey Borland, Lieutenant Governor of Division 21, Jennifer Chun, Lieutenant Governor of Division 45, Morgan Fromm, Lieutenant Governor of Division AYS, Elena Robinson, Lieutenant Governor of Division 30, Isaac Yee, Lieutenant Governor of Division 34, and Francisco Dehania, Lieutenant Governor of Division 1936. So now that you know who we are, let's get this webinar started. We will begin by going through our newly released 2020 PNW Key Club Virtual Engagement Toolkit. This toolkit was created by our 2020-2021 MGRC committee to aid and support clubs in functioning virtually, by providing information through a variety of resources relating to operating in a virtual environment, including icebreakers, club and board meeting agendas, strategies for engagement, and so much more. The members of the MGRC committee will be discussing each of these resources within the virtual engagement toolkit. Let's jump right in.
All right, hi everyone. So having knowledge about how Key Club functions and its history makes our community a more enriching experience, and members should know about our wide impact in our international presence. As an organization, and playing trivia is the perfect way to teach them. So we all know that sitting through a lecture about the workings of Key Club isn't as engaging, it's kind of boring, and it can definitely disrupt the flow of the information. So instead, if you play Key Club 101 trivia via Kahoot or via like Jeopardy style, this can actually be a lot more memorable for your members. And because of this, inside of the toolkit, we have a pre-made PNW Key Club Trivia Kahoot ready for you and your club to play.
All right, so next we have the Key Club 101 slideshow. This slideshow is really good to show at the beginning of the year. It highlights the basics of Key Club, including what Key Club is, our core values, how Key Club functions on an international level, and most importantly, our Key Club pledge.
Linked within this toolkit is a YouTube tutorial of the virtual meeting platform Zoom. Zoom is one of the most used virtual meeting platforms and is a great resource for hosting virtual club or board meetings. It is free to use Zoom and to set up your own meetings, and the Zoom free plan can even hold up to a 40-minute meeting with unlimited participants. Some of the best and most useful functions of using Zoom as a virtual meeting platform are breakout rooms, co-hosting, screen sharing, gallery/speaker view, general chat, private chat, and an easy link to access the meeting. Click this link for a tutorial on the Zoom basics.
Due to most schools operating virtually as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the best way to promote club activities is through virtual promotion. Social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook can be used to connect members through posts and group chats. Instagram can be used to publicly showcase club events, with stories being used to quickly remind members of upcoming events. Facebook can also be used to involve both members and advisors in your promotion strategies. Emails to both members and advisors can be used as a more formal way of communication and a means of spreading important information.
So icebreakers are an essential part of creating a positive community in your club. Especially in a virtual setting, icebreakers are more important So in the virtual engagement toolkit, there's a list of activities that you can complete in this virtual setting, along with a description of how to participate in each of these activities. So some of my favorite icebreakers are something in common, where you separate your members into breakout rooms and have them find 5 things in common with each other. And I would say one of my most top 5 favorites, I would say Positivity Minute, where you have everyone leave compliments in the chat for someone else in the meeting.
Okay, so throughout the past couple of months, as you all probably know, the PNW and New York districts of Key Club have had 2 other webinars on virtual engagement that have had a lot of valuable information for holding successful meetings. So in the toolkit, you'll find notes on both of these webinars, which you can check out like the entire thing later, but they're super long, so I will briefly go through some of them today. In the virtual engagement webinar, Tom Kriegelstein explained how to be engaging even through Zoom. And one of the most important lessons was using polls and breakout rooms for icebreakers to help your audience feel more comfortable. So for example, Tom Kriegelstein encouraged the use of spotlights when people explain their answers to questions. And then the main thing I want to point out in the membership recruitment and retention webinar notes are the basics of dance floor theory. And this is the idea that with more relationships and more friends in a club, recruitment will be much, much easier. Tom Kriegelstein explained that the idea is that people are going to join other people and not just an organization. So if you want more members and more participation, try to emphasize the social nature of Key Club in your meetings and in your promotional materials. If you want to find the full recordings of these past webinars, go to www.youtube.com/user/PNW Key Club. And you can also go to pnwkeyclub.org and select webinars to find past recordings and slideshows.
All right. So guest speakers are a great way to mix up your meetings, and especially cater to your members' interests. So within the toolkit, we have a comprehensive walkthrough of reaching out to potential guest speakers or panelists, including Key Club alumni, or even connecting with organizations from our partners and preferred charities. So getting speakers from different causes can be a really inspiring experience for members, and will definitely encourage them to get more involved in Key Club and their community.
Here are some engagement basics to keep in mind during online meetings. Before the meeting, of course, you should decide what's the best time to schedule the meeting. You can make a Google form to let the participants vote for the meeting hours or contact them individually so you have the highest attendance rate as possible. After scheduling the meeting, write an outline for the meeting agenda and send it out to your members at least 24 hours before the meeting. You should always have a defined purpose and goal for the meeting. At the meeting, you should arrive a few minutes early to make sure there are no technology issues and you have all the materials. Remember to start and end the meetings on time. During the meeting, allow members to participate and play their role. Virtual team building activities can make a big impact. Team building activities such as trivia, Two Truths and a Lie, and Desert Island can create a positive conversation environment as well as bonding the members together. After the meeting, receive feedback from your audience through Google Forms, emails, or text to improve the next meeting. Lastly, send out a follow-up email or meeting recap to your members.
All right, so for some basic tips and tricks for your meetings, if possible, have everybody turn their cameras on. Spend some time and have everybody introduce themselves. Include an icebreaker so that everybody's familiar with each other. Have members participate in the virtual meetings by asking questions or asking for their input. Also, have everybody mute themselves unless they are speaking. Have an agenda in hand and make sure to share with everybody. And lastly, do not multitask during the meeting. Make sure that your meeting is your priority.
For virtual meetings, the agenda might look a little different than for in-person ones. Like Isaac just said, it's always good to start off your meeting with an icebreaker or game so that everyone can get to know each other and become comfortable around one another. For the rest of the meeting, make sure to go over past events, upcoming events, and any other announcements that need to be made. A great way to keep your members engaged during this time is to show a slideshow with pictures and bullet points of the important information. Make sure to keep your meetings under an hour so that your members stay engaged the whole time and don't get bored. At the end of the meeting, make sure to thank your members for coming and tell them the date and time for the next meeting.
There are many ways to conduct a fundraising event or a service project in a virtual or socially distant setting. Some can include a movie night, where your club hosts a virtual movie night through websites like Netflix Party or YouTube Party. Thank you cards. Creating thank you cards for people who are working on the front line, your teachers, former key clubbers, fellow members, or others. Chalk walk. Make a chalk walk in your neighborhood that will bring joy to people walking. Face masks. Make face masks with fabric or bandanas. Paper cranes. Fold paper cranes and donate them to children's hospitals or give them to neighbors. There are so many more ways to do service projects in a virtual or socially distant way, which will of course be available in the membership engagement toolkit.
Okay, so in this next section, you'll find election and club officer duty information, which will be especially helpful for clubs that have not held elections yet and will be doing them virtually this year. So for this section, I'd like to emphasize part of the election guide. So at the beginning, you might want to establish an election committee to make the whole process smoother and easier to manage. And then you'll want to have a meeting where each position's responsibilities are outlined and explained in detail so that candidates know what they're getting into. And of course, the rest of the election process is important and it can be found in the toolkit, so check it out. Okay, so the next part is Virtual Key Leader, and this is a self-guided program intended for high school students, but it is appropriate for anyone aged 13 and up. It incorporates lessons and videos about the principles of servant leadership, and you can use this to understand all of the principles you need to know in order to be a good servant leader.
All right, thanks, Morgan. We would now like to transition into a membership growth and retention panel and Q&A session. We have 3 panelists here today that will elaborate on their experience with membership retention within PNW Key Club. We would now to introduce our panelists. Our first panelist is Geoffrey Raphael, current president of South Kitsap Key Club in Division 1936. Our next panelist is Nathan Wu, current Lieutenant Governor of Division 28. Our final panelist is Julia Lin, current Lieutenant Governor of Division 65 and current Pacific Northwest Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee Chair. These panelists will answer questions about their membership experience. Please give them a warm welcome. So let's get started with a couple questions. My first question for you all is, what ways have you been promoting your club this year, and what methods have been the most effective? Geoffrey, would you like to get us started with that one?
Yeah, sure. Speaking from the club level, I've been keeping it pretty personal. One thing I've been doing is shouting out the club at the end of class on the day of the meeting, just like quick, hey guys, come to our meeting. It's happening 2 o'clock. You should all be there. We're going to talk about what Key Club is, stuff like that. Another way is hierarchical diffusion. I get my officers to bring their friends, you know.
Those are really great strategies, Geoffrey. Nathan, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so there's 2 things that some of my clubs have been doing that I really liked. First of all, one of my clubs created a Canvas page. So if you don't know what Canvas is, it's the platform that a lot of schools use for classes. It's all virtual classes. So by creating it, it's almost as if it's another class, and it gets inputted straight into your to-do list. So it's like right next to all your homework, and it's really easy to see everything that's happening and make sure your members don't miss anything. The second thing I like is kind of members always like incentive, right? So one of my schools created a raffle program where in exchange for attending the first meeting and attending the first meeting and tagging a few friends on an Instagram post, they get entered into a raffle where they can win things like a Seahawks jersey or Starbucks gift cards, and just giving them that reason to come and reason to publicize it more.
That's also a really great strategy, Nathan. Julia, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, so promotion is definitely one of the biggest parts of running a successful club, especially when you're trying to get members to join. I find that a lot of my clubs have been making promotional videos, kind of like a get to know you for the officers on the board. I find that a lot of people are more like receptive to that kind of thing of like joining a group of people rather than joining like an organization. Just making it a way more personal experience for like the members is really important, and also making sure that they know who the officers are and like who they can talk to and who they can ask for questions and all of that. Another method that I find really like effective is promoting through the school. So I know a lot of schools usually hold club fairs or club rushes, but a lot of those have turned virtual this year. But making sure that your information is in the club rush and that you're promoting through the school, and that like a lot of like the school is basically pushing your promotion for you will help you reach a lot more students, and also reach the freshmen, which are like usually like the most enthusiastic and willing to join Key Club.
Those are all really, really wonderful strategies. My next question for you all is, what has been on your meeting agendas this year? So we'll follow the same order. Geoffrey, would you like to get us started?
Like mentioned before, we have a lot of icebreakers, games, and a lot of Key Club 101. Um, a lot of us are doing like online school through Zoom, so we thought, it might be a little overbearing to just go to another Zoom meeting. I personally feel that too. So we want to create more like a chill, fun environment, so people will actually want to come. As for Key Club 101, speaking from a club level again, I want like our members to remember that they're part of something like a larger community, which distinguishes us from other clubs at our school, like Interact or NHS that don't have this experience.
Definitely. Those are great ideas to include in your meeting agenda. Nathan, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, so I definitely really agree with all those points about icebreakers. And I guess just one thing I wanted to add on was what I've noticed about a lot of my meetings is that they're very momentum driven, where really if you don't get a good start, then it's difficult to keep keep your meeting effective, because if you don't capture your members' attentions in the first few seconds or first minute, then they'll just all turn off their cameras, mute their mics, and then it's really, really hard to get them to re-engage. So it's really important to restructure your meetings and put all these really exciting things in the beginning, like all these icebreakers and games, and just really like wow them and be like, hey, I really want to know what's going on. And then that way, when you transition to more educational content or service content, they're all still 100% in the game at that point.
Definitely, it's really important to not bore your members before you get into anything. So that's a great idea. Julia, would you like to add to that?
Some of the things that have been on meeting agendas that I've seen from this year, and also in the resources that we've developed on the virtual engagement toolkit, is guest speakers. Guest speakers are really like a great and easy way to kind of like diversify your meetings, and also just keeping like your meetings with like a different purpose every single time. So like you wouldn't want to, like as a member, I feel like you wouldn't really want to like go to the same meeting every week. But like if you have like a separate agenda, if you have like a kind of like a diverse set of like, oh, like we're going to be doing this meeting, we're going to be doing something else this meeting, I feel like that will make people more engaged and more like want to come more, because they know that everything will be like every time it'll be something different. It won't be the same thing. Some of those things that I've seen on meeting agendas are like icebreakers, virtual icebreakers, as the other panelists said. Guest speakers, whether it's Houston Craft or like someone like from Thirst Project, it's really important to get guest speakers that relate to Key Club, and or like not even like you can have one that relates to just leadership or servant leadership or any of that. Like yeah, it's really important to just kind of like have different activities to engage your members. And Yeah, and also I would suggest, like, if you're an officer, inviting your LTG to come speak at your meeting. That's a really great way to kind of boost engagement, is inviting your LTG, since they are like leading your division. I think it's really important for the members within individual clubs to find, kind of like, know like who to turn to, and like know their officers, know their lieutenant governor. And then also, like, the LTG gives a presentation about like Key Club 101, what Key Club's about, why you should join. So I think it's really important to invite your LTG and like have them be involved within the functions of your club.
Definitely. Those were all really, really wonderful ideas for things you can put into meeting agendas this year. My next question for you all is, what advice do you have for getting members to participate in a virtual setting? And Geoffrey, would you like to start us off?
I'd say the biggest thing is getting members comfortable because, again, we're all doing online Zoom classes, and during those, we like to turn off our mics, turn off our cameras, not really participate. So I like to stay enthusiastic throughout the whole thing, even when everyone isn't. Crank it up to 150. Also have people like talk about themselves, do stuff themselves, because it's not a lecture session, it's a club.
Definitely. Nathan?
Yeah, so I guess just to reiterate, energy is so important, especially if your whole entire board just looks like they're having such a good time, then your members most likely will too. The other thing I wanted to say was a method that I think works really well is to personally reach out, just because for most of your meetings and events, there's going to be a lot of members who are kind of on the edge of attending and they're not really sure yet. So a good strategy is to maybe, let's say you have 5 board members and 20 members, you give each board member 4 members to personally text or call or however method you think would work best, and just ask them like, hey, I would love to see you there. Like, I would have such a good time if you were there, et cetera, et cetera. And by giving that invitation, there's a huge chance that they'll go if before they didn't.
Definitely. I think personal communication is a really, really important, especially now, just to like reach out and make people feel like their presence is wanted. That's definitely a great idea. Julia, would you like to add on?
Yes, of course. So some advice that I have is, definitely, I think it's really hard to kind of like switch from like in-person meetings to virtual meetings, but I think like what really gets members to participate is definitely, like, as the other panelists said, like your enthusiasm. I feel like a lot of the time people match people's energy, so if they see you being like really excited about Key Club and excited to start service and like this year, like in general, I think they'll be more compelled to kind of match that energy and like, turn their cameras on, get engaged, and like talk to everyone. And I think one of the biggest points like I want to make is be personable. Like, don't make it seem like, oh, it's just this huge lecture and like, we're in school like all over again, but like make it seem like a club, like make it seem like what Key Club is about, which is essentially like service and personal relationships. So yeah, be personable with like your be personable with your members, and make sure to like kind of like connect with them instead of just like having a disconnect between officers and members. And I think this will also help with like retention, like getting them to be as excited about Key Club as you are. I also wanted to go back to one of the last question. So like, what has been on your meeting agenda this year? I'm seeing in the chat there, I mentioned like you could invite like a speaker to talk about our district project, which is the Thirst Project. And a really great resource is Justin England, our immediate past district governor. He is an ambassador for the Thirst Project this year, and he would be so happy to like go around and do a presentation at your club. So he's a really great resource to reach out to. I think Kalia dropped his contact info into the chat, but yeah, make sure to reach out to him if you're lacking something on your meeting agenda, or if you want him to talk about Thirst Project. He's a really, really great resource and a great way to fill club time.
Yeah, that's super important. And your point that like matching your energy is also something that I think we should all keep in mind. Like, we shouldn't expect members to be enthusiastic if the presenters or the people running the meeting or event are not enthusiastic. So that's definitely a great point. Yeah, and so I guess I'll move on to my next question for you all, which is, how is your club adapting to COVID-19? Geoffrey?
Like mentioned before, we like we want every meeting to have like a purpose. One way we're doing that is meeting actually every other week, just because we don't really have much to do right now. And also looking into service projects as mentioned, because not a lot of the other service clubs in our school work over the summer, you know. But we do. So we've been looking at service projects that we could do ourselves virtually, you know, meet with a purpose.
Nathan, what about you?
Yeah, for sure. And just adding on, I guess now that it's the beginning of the school year, a lot of people are still kind of fresh because they've had that whole summer break. So their attention spans in general are still intact, which means that you can really engage them right now. And through either in person or remote, depending on your school's policy. Some cool things I've seen in person are maybe partnering with local organizations, businesses, like some of my clubs have done, where they partner with local churches, school districts, and Kiwanis clubs to host things like clothing drives, mask drives, book drives, etc. And then also make sure you have options for remote, because in person is never, it's not really an option for everyone. So a cool method I've seen is where some of the clubs will create a big long list of different service activities people can do and the amount of hours next to it, and members just have to do it on their own time, send proof in, and then they'll get hours. And it's a great way to keep members engaged and getting their hours in that way.
All right, and Julia?
My club has been kind of adapting to COVID-19 through virtual board meetings, like virtual club meetings. I'm sure like a lot of the other clubs in the district are also doing these. But yeah, it's really important to like have kind of like a safe space for your members, and like, you know, like I think one of the most important things is to stay inclusive. So as like I think Nathan said, he like you kind of have to like consider like the people who can't really like do anything non-remotely. So I think offering like a variety of service opportunities, whether remote or in person, is really key, and like kind of just providing that opportunity to your members. Like if they take it, they take it. That's amazing. But yeah, just having that open, and having that open to your members, and kind of just like providing them that opportunity. And there's so many like virtual service projects to pursue. You don't have to do everything. Like service can be done like online, or it can be done in person, which is a great thing about Key Club, and why Key Club can adapt so well like during like this virtual school year. I think one of like we've included some of these like resources in the virtual engagement toolkit, which you can look back on. But there's so many websites like freerice.home, where you just like answer trivia and they donate like rice to like underprivileged communities. Like yeah, there's so many like opportunities that you can take advantage of. I've seen some also like clubs in my division offer like points or like service hours for like coming to like our Key Club Day South, or like coming like participating in Key Club, and like coming to like any of like the events that we host, which I think is really cool too, because it helps them stay engaged with Key Club and kind of like, you know, like keep up like during like the school year.
Yeah, I think that's also something that's really important, is to emphasize how accessible service is for really everyone, and how everyone can find a method of service that works for them, and that is something they're passionate about, and really using that to bring more members in. So that's really wonderful advice, Julia. So my last question for you all is, what advice do you have for organizing a service project, especially considering the situation we are in with COVID-19? Geoffrey, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, of course. I say my one tip is to prepare ahead of time, like at least a week in advance, so you have time to promote the materials needed, what you're doing, and to actually like personally go out and invite people, because we found that that actually encourages more people to come, instead of just shrugging off the information posted on Instagram or on everyone's stories.
That's really wonderful advice, Geoffrey. Nathan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I have very similar points to him. Organization and starting early is so important, especially because there pretty much every single event, something's gonna go wrong or something's gonna not be as you planned. So it's so important to have all these backup plans and have all the pieces in place. That way, when you go into your event, you don't have to think about like 30 logistical things in the back of your head and just being stressed out about that. That way, during the event, you can just focus on your members and just giving them a good time. Um, so yeah, just plan early and be organized.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's really important to recognize that things might not run smoothly every single time, and that you should have plans. You should have backup plans, and you should be able to adjust and adapt in any situation to ensure that um, that your service or your service project is still effective and successful. Julia, would you like to close us off with this question?
Yeah. So honestly, I think one of the key parts of like organizing a successful service project is definitely promotion, like getting people to know about your event, like what you guys are doing, like the specifics, and pushing all of those details out to them, and like just providing them that opportunity is really important. And also like emphasizing like, oh, like, you know, like this could be a really fun thing. Like service doesn't have to be like, you know, like something forced or anything. I think a lot of people like operate under that like misconception that like service is like boring, or you know, but like service is like really fun and you can do it with friends. And I feel if you just like ask your members like, hey, you know, like we can, or like I guess promoting early like really pushes like the idea like, oh, it like gives people an opportunity to like go to their friends and be like, do you want to do this together, and kind of organizing that. And yeah, just like my advice for organizing a service project is first and foremost like promotion. So promote early, give your like members time to ask questions, give your members time to work, like give your members time to like kind of process that information, and you know, ask any questions about that. I feel like is really important to organizing a successful service project.
That's really, really wonderful advice, Julia, and really great advice and input from all three of you. So those are all the questions we have for the panel discussion. Thank you so much to our panelists for your time today. You all provided wonderful insight and information. And yeah, this concludes this portion of our webinar, and I'll hand it off to Julia for the next section.
Awesome. We will now begin our Q&A. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we would now like to showcase our brand new video called How the PNW Key Club is Staying Active During COVID-19, developed by District Editor Jessica Lober, along with the Membership Growth and Reactivation and District Project Committees.
And then Cody said, busy with the girl, can't go anywhere.
Okay. We will switch over. Hey Pacific Northwest Key Club District. In this video, we would love to talk about the MGRC Committee and the Thirst Project Committee, and how we have adapted so far during our Key Club term. My name is Julia Lynn, and I'm Division 65 Lieutenant Governor, and I'm the current MGRC Committee Chair. MGRC is the Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee. Our committee works on all things membership within PNW Key Club, including chartering, retention, growth, reactivation, and more.
There are currently 12,124 members in the Pacific Northwest District. Our district membership goal for next year is to have 12,650 members by 2021 DCOM. We're planning to maintain and increase our membership through consistent virtual meetings, engaging webinars, and effective communications. In the past few months, we increased and maintained our membership through consistent virtual meetings, such as summer board meetings, Kiwanis Relations webinar, Thirst Project webinar, and divisional and presidential council meetings hosted by more than 30 individual lieutenant governors.
Even though many of the things Key Club typically does takes place in person, there are still plenty of volunteer opportunities that could be done virtually. For example, you can reach out to a local middle school and offer virtual tutoring, run errands for community members that might not be able to go out themselves, or even host a clothing or food drive in your community for a shelter or food bank. There are still so many ways we can continue to serve our communities. We just need to be a little creative.
Although social distancing guidelines are preventing in-person club meetings from taking place, it is still essential to maintain active communication and meetings on a club-wide level. Conducting virtual meetings on Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Meets, Skype, and even Instagram Live are effective ways in gathering members together.
What's up, PNW Key Club? My name is Alyssa Halsey, and I'm currently serving as Lieutenant Governor of Division 33, as well as the Service District Project Committee Chair. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, clubs across the PNW district are continuing to raise money for the Thirst Project. My committee and I would love to share with you some of the ways that our clubs have continued to fundraise during this time, as well as some ways they'll continue fundraising in the future. For example, in my division, Federal Way High School has led the charge by hosting a virtual Thirsty 30 event, a bake sale, and by volunteering at their local Kiwanis Salmon Bake.
This year has definitely been one to remember. There's been a lot of uncertainty and challenges that we've been faced with. Maintaining club interaction is still very important. While face-to-face interaction is not allowed due to COVID restrictions, you can still have clubs interact via online programs, and we can still do fundraisers for the Thirst Project online too, as long as social distancing is in place. An example of a social distance fundraiser could be a virtual bake sale.
If you're looking for a fun, socially distanced fundraiser for the Thirst Project, you should plan a spooky drive-in movie as Halloween slowly approaches. Get a cozy blanket, lots of candy, a car, and watch some classic Halloween movies. You can charge for admission and sell some snacks, and all proceeds will go to the Thirst Project.
Another easy fundraiser setup for the Thirst Project is a sticker fundraiser. You can create a variety of designs ranging from animals to food or even water-related objects such as a jerry can. Sticker designs can also be created by your members as a quick service project.
Thank you so much for watching our video. We hope this provided more insight on how the Pacific Northwest District of Key Club has adapted to a year of service online. Always feel free to reach out to me, the Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee Chair, at membership@pnwkeyclub.org.
Even though serving our communities has proven more difficult during these uncertain times, PNW Key Club is finding new ways to stay active. Seeing all of your clubs adapting to the circumstances just exemplifies the passion and dedication that each of you have, and I'm so excited to see what we continue to accomplish together. If you have any questions about fundraising or our district project, feel free to reach out to me and my committee at project@pnwkeyclub.org. Enjoy the rest of your Key Club day, PNW.
Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that video that's newly released. We released that Key Club Day. So yeah, okay. Head back to our slideshow. Okay. We will now begin our Q&A session. Please use the chat function to ask your questions and remember to keep the chat appropriate. When asking questions, please be as detailed as you can. The more specific you can be about your situation, the more helpful our feedback can be. If your club is struggling with membership, this would be the time to ask for help. So also, if you want to ask any questions to specific panelists or to panelists in general, you can also drop them in the chat, just specify at the beginning of your message. Oh, sorry. Yes, Linda asked, are these slides going to be available? Yes, they will be sent out to everybody who registered for the webinar. If you didn't register for the webinar and you want these slides, I will also be sending these out probably to all the officers of PNW Key Club. Okay, I see Kelsey asked a question. What are some ways that we can, what are some ways that we can recruit 8th graders virtually? So currently we have an 8th grade recruitment toolkit. That one's suited for in-person. So that one was developed last year, and that one's suited for like going to like schools in person and all of that. But inside that toolkit, there are like presentations. So there is like a presentation that's specifically made for like recruiting to 8th graders. And there's also like a lot of like handouts that you can like kind of save as like a PDF. So one thing I would suggest is reaching out to your 8th grade if you know like your school key club. So if you know your feeder school, so like there are middle schools that feed directly into your high school, if you know those schools, reach out to their admin and ask if they can send out that information for you, and like kind of just like like work through like kind of just like start promoting to parents, especially of 8th graders, and then they can pass that information on to like their kids. And reach out to administration and include all of those, like kind of explain like, oh, like we're Key Club, we're part of this high school, and we just wanted to reach out and make sure like that we like are a resource for your 8th graders as they like transition into high school next year, and that we are a club that like would be happy to have them join. And just for like there's a lot of resources that can be formatted to the virtual setting, and like using those presentations, using those handouts, and like downloading them as PDFs, like utilizing email and like emailing like parents, emailing administration. That's all great.
Here, Julia, can I interrupt real quick?
Of course.
Yeah, so
I love to iron. I do. I love to iron.
Something I've been talking to some of my clubs about is having them join middle school classes and do a short presentation on what Key Club is. But that would all depend on what the rules are for your school district and for individual schools. But it's something you could look into if you had the time.
Okay, so I see a question from Kylie. How do you start planning for recruitment? What are the first few things to think about? So Kelsey, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So when you're first starting, I guess you'd have to decide what you want to focus on to start recruitment. So is your school something that would benefit more from like, oh, I need service hours. Key Club is a way to get service hours. Do you want to attack it that way? Or you could make it more of a community or leadership based. So if you need experience to put on your resume or your application, we are a leadership organization. So trying to figure out which way to really advertise, or just like put those incentives out there. There's not really a negative in joining Key Club, so putting that information out, like digitally. If we were in person, we'd do posters and stuff, but sending emails, especially like personal emails, describing what Key Club is, and then just saying, if you'd like to join us, here's when our next meeting is.
Yes, thank you so much, Kelsey, for that helpful input. Something that I want to talk about regarding that question is definitely plan early. As I said before, promotion is key. If you're planning on 8th grade recruitment, I would suggest like during the spring, like kind of like when they're forecasting is a great like time to like kind of press that in and be like, when school starts next year, when we're doing club fair, like make sure to sign up for Key Club, make sure to come to our meetings. Just being really specific about what Key Club is, like what we do, that we're a service club, definitely emphasizing like the resources that we have available to members. We have so many toolkits like open to you guys that have these promotion tips, have these promotional resources and templates that you can use. As I said, like there's brochures on like Key Club 101, so make sure like to be promoting those, be promoting like the purpose of Key Club and why we're doing what we do. And also talk about like what are some things that you do specifically to your club. So like what are some service projects that we've done in the past? What is our impact? What is our district project? Being really specific to our district and being just really personal, I feel like is a really great way to like recruit. And like another thing to think about, especially as I said, I think before, like during the panelist Q&A, one thing to think about is advertising your club at club fair. So this is a really great like way to like get your club going, because like there's definitely like an emphasis on virtual club fair this year, since like you guys are in school are not in school like to like promote yourselves. So virtual club fair is like amazing because you're promoting directly through the school. So you're like you'll get like a way bigger exposure of students. So like we reach more students when you're promoting club fair, and they'll kind of like see like, oh, this key club is like, you know, official, it's it, like, you know. And just like knowing that, like, and also like, yeah, just like promoting through the school, like promotion, like emphasizing that is something to think about for recruitment. I see. Okay, yeah, I see Cassie asked a question. How do we collect membership fees with COVID going on? So our PNW finance administrator Mike Wallace answered this question in the chat, but I'll read it out loud. Membership fees should still process through your school's business office system as usual, but if they're not operating this way or this is not possible, suggest that they reach out to your sponsoring Kiwanis Club, and they can assist you with your membership dues collection and payments to Key Club International. Okay. I see a question from Allison. How would you suggest creating more of a community feel for clubs that are larger than 50? One thing that any one of my community members can jump in for this, but one thing that I've really like, I think I've had like 3 of my clubs have like are really big and like have more than like 100 members, and I know it's like really hard to kind of like, I guess, like meet every single one and everything, but I feel like one thing that really like makes people stay involved is icebreakers. Like, you don't have to call it an icebreaker either, you know, like, we're all gonna do this activity and talk to each other. That's a really great way. And like also getting more personal, so a great way to do this is pushing people into breakout rooms. So it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but that, you know, like, you know, you have to kind of like get people out of their comfort zone to kind of get them more into, like, get them more engaged. But yeah, like pushing them into breakout rooms, especially like you can maybe have like an officer, every officer in your officer board, like to kind of like man one breakout room and kind of lead that one in discussion or icebreaker, is a really great way to kind of create more of that community feel. Also, like, I would suggest, like, instead of like advertising Key Club as like just like a huge service organization, like be more personal, emphasize like who your officers are, who your lieutenant governor are, like who we are, and kind of just like, yeah, like preach your members that like Key Club is full of these people, and it's not just like an organization to be part of. And I think that like as people like kind of find out who's behind the scenes and running all of that, like they'll definitely be more like personable, like feel more compelled to like join and be more engaged, since they know like who they're talking to and like who they're like, you know, a part of.
If I could add to that really quick, in my division, we have, I think, maybe the biggest club, 200 members, Kamiak Key Club, go Kamiak. And what I've seen them do is they have committees. They work together in smaller groups on different topics. And the officers are really personable. Like, they reach out to almost everybody, but they have a larger officer team. So they have an opportunity to create more connections because of their larger officer team.
Okay, thanks for your input. Kelsey. Our next question is from Linda. What would you suggest we do this year for blood drives? So personally, oh yeah, Morgan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, actually, I had a webinar at my division that talked about blood drives. Right now, I'm not sure if your school is going to be allowed to hold blood drives, because generally, at least for key clubs in my division, we would have blood drives that would just run through the school. And schools aren't really allowed to have big group settings, but something you could do instead is encourage your members to go to the actual like place that they have the blood drives set up and do that, because that still is set up. I mean, generally you can go on whatever nearby blood drive is in your area and you can set up an appointment, and honestly your members might feel safer doing the appointment system rather than like a big blood drive individually. But I think just encouraging them to do it is good for now, unless your school is holding a blood drive.
I agree. Thank you so much, Morgan, for your input. That's really helpful. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, like recently my key clubs haven't been doing anything with blood drive, to my knowledge, but my student government actually just like kind of like joint held like a blood drive with American Red Cross. Some of the things that like we promoted that like we didn't exactly like get like people like, you know, like we weren't like, you know, we're gonna force you to do the blood drive, but kind of just like promoting it and being like, I feel like a way to make it a part of Key Club would be able to like would be like, oh, you know, like we're having a blood drive, this is like American Red Cross is having a blood drive, like this is when and where, and kind of just promoting it on your club page, and just being like, you know, if you go donate or if you like ask to go help out, like maybe like reaching out to American Red Cross to see if they need front desk volunteers. That's like a great way to get involved with like the blood drive still. And definitely like be like, oh, you know, like if you donate blood, if you share to like 3 friends, if you get like a friend to donate blood, then like you can get service hours for that, or you can get like some kind of credit for that to count for like your virtual service. Okay, let's see. I see a question from Bethany. 8th grade is a good target, but my school is not a neighborhood school. How can I recruit 8th grade if my school grabs kids from all over Portland? So this one might be a little bit more work since you kind of have like schools that like feed from all directions, but reaching out to maybe like maybe like the schools that you think are like mostly made up of like you like reaching out to the middle schools that you're that mostly like that produce the most number of students like at your school is really useful, and focusing on those, or just focusing on like a couple if they all feed in equally, and just as I said, like reaching out to your administration. You can even like use like a copy paste and like send it to like copy paste and send it to every like principal that of like the schools that feed into your high school. But yeah, just reaching out to all of them and making sure that they know that Key Club's a resource that you have in high school and that it's a really great high school club to be a part of.
Yeah, and can I interrupt real quick? So since you have like a ton of different feeder schools, I would recommend making a committee on 8th grade recruitment, because then you can have more people from different backgrounds and different schools try to reach out to teachers or administrators they already know, and they'll probably get a response quicker than you would if you're not from that area. At least that's something I've seen happen a lot with other kind of recruitment methods. So yeah, I think since you're gonna have a lot more work because you're from a ton of different feeder schools, I would recommend making a committee for that one.
Yes, Morgan makes a really good point. Like the committee, like creating a committee within your club, especially this year, to focus on recruitment and retention is a great idea. That's amazing. I love that idea. And yeah, just kind of like yeah, definitely promoting. Like there's a ton of resources in the eighth grade recruitment toolkit for that, and also in the virtual engagement toolkit for promoting all of that. There's slideshows, templates, all of that. That should all be available to you. And you can always reach out to me at membership@pnwkeyclub.org if you have any questions, or if you want that answered more in depth, or if you want to like, I don't know, like maybe talk with me more about it. I see a question from, oh wait, I see a comment from Aurora. One where a club is recruiting members is using school online sources, for example, Schoolology, and teachers that teach classes that whole grade have biology for 9th graders. So I think what she's saying is using like school online sources and yeah, like promoting. Basically just promoting through, and then like by promoting you're definitely recruiting, like, and yeah, okay. Amazing comment, Aurora, thank you. I see a question from Sue. What are good resources for new officers to get options for icebreakers? There are a ton of icebreaker ideas in our new virtual engagement toolkit. Yeah, there are a ton of icebreaker ideas, and then you can kind of like read through those and see which one fits like with your club and which ones that you are able to do. Yeah, so that's included in the virtual engagement toolkit, which is released via issue. It's on the pnwkeyclub.org website under the 2020-2021 membership campaign tab. I see another comment from Aurora. Our club is using Kahoots and utilizing chat in like Skype or Zoom for Two Truths and a Lie for icebreakers. That's a really good idea. Yeah, for icebreakers, like utilizing the chat, usually we don't have that in person. So there are some benefits to like holding holding virtual meetings, and there are some like really great like functions that you can do, like breakout rooms, chat, all of that. I see a question from Lonnie. Has any thought gone into the rising student suicide issues we're seeing, and what can Key Club do to help? So I see that Kalia answered this question in the chat. Youthline is an organization that she recommends to collaborate with for guest speakers or events. They presented at Key Club Days, and they talk about mental health and coping with stress. They have a hotline and resources for suicide prevention. Yeah, Youthline is a really great resource, and it's really like, it's pretty like like publicized, like a lot of people know about it. So this is a great resource to kind of push if you're wanting to focus on this. But yeah, like publicizing this.
Oh wait, I wanted to mention something really quick. So for individual clubs, you could honestly talk to your school and see who they work with too, because those might be easier to contact, especially it'll be more local as well. I know that each school has counselors, and you could talk to them, and you could just see who your school is in contact with as well.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, I don't know if this is for every school, but I know that my school, on the back of my school ID, they have like these like resources, like mental health resources, and like who to reach out to if you're going through this. So if your school like publicizes that in any way, like make sure to like be promoting that on your platform, and just getting your members to know, like getting the people that you reach out to like know that there are resources, and also just being like personable, be there for your members, support them and be understanding. Okay, I see a question from Brianna. I like the scary movie drive-in idea. Where could I get the resources to do that event? So there are lots of service project ideas within the virtual engagement toolkit for the scary movie drive-in idea. I know for my school that we actually plan on doing this. Like this is we were supposed to do like a senior movie drive-in, and it was going to be really fun because also like no one would be getting out of their cars, so it's just like a really great like socially distanced event to do during COVID. Yeah, like there's some resources in the virtual engagement toolkit, and you can always reach out to me if you need some help planning that and like promoting.
Yeah, and Kelsey mentioned in the chat that you should reach out to your sponsoring Kiwanis club to see if they have a connection to a business or people who have a spot where you can park a ton of cars, which that's really good advice. I would also recommend you talk to your school because they might be able to let you use like a football field or something, or you could possibly do it in your school parking lot. But like I said, that would vary based on like what your school rules are.
Okay, yes, thank you so much, Morgan. We only have time for one more question, but yeah, okay, we only have time for one more question, but if you have any further questions or inquiries or whatever, make sure to reach out to me at membership@pnwkeyclub.org. Kalia, if you could drop that email in the chat for me, please, thank you so much. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, okay. I see a question from Tracy. Seaside has COVID hybrid days, freshmen and seniors, and sophomores and juniors in the other days. Ideas for recruitment. So if you have hybrid days, I would suggest like, putting up posters in the school since people are going to be at school, but definitely still pushing like virtual promotion, since I know like not everybody is at school on the same day. So that's kind of hard to like kind of organize like meetings and organize like in person, all of that. I think still pushing like virtual promotion and virtual like, yeah, still pushing virtual promotion like through your Instagram, through email, through mailing lists. That's really important still. Okay, yeah, so that will be our last question. Thank you guys so much for being so involved. Yeah, make sure to reach out to me via email if you guys have any further questions. Okay. Yeah, this concludes our September virtual membership growth and retention webinar. We hope that you were able to obtain valuable information to help your club succeed during the pandemic and reach its membership goals. If you still have questions about something covered during the webinar or would like to speak with someone from the Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee, please do not hesitate to contact us. We would love to answer your questions and assist your club with reaching its membership goals. To contact us, please email me at membership@pnwkeyclub.org. And then there's a ton of contact information on these slides. And yeah, all resources can be found, all 2020 to 2021 resources can be found on the pnwkeyclub.org website. And then yeah, all the resources can be found on the pnwkeyclub.org website, but specifically there's a tab for our 2020 membership campaign. So all of this, like our virtual engagement toolkit, our video, that's all found on a tab within the website. But yeah, thank you everyone for attending. We wish you the best of luck in your membership endeavors, and I hope all of you reach your club's goals. Have a great night, everyone, and please continue to stay safe and healthy. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Run my hands through your hair, you wanna run your